Alhamdulillah, all praise is for Allah, the one who knows what our hearts hide and what our souls truly need. Peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who taught us when to engage with the world and when to step back to save our faith. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your soul is not to add more, but to step away. Disappear for 30 days, not from responsibility, but from noise. Not from life, but from distraction. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, your emotions, and your identity, the soul becomes exhausted without you realizing it. You wake up tired, scroll endlessly, compare constantly, and slowly your heart loses its calm. Then you wonder why you feel empty even when surrounded by people. When you disappear for 30 days for the sake of Allah, something remarkable begins to happen. The first thing you feel is discomfort. Silence feels strange. Less talking feels awkward. Being unseen feels unsettling. But that discomfort is not a bad sign. It is the soul detoxing from dependence on validation, attention, and constant stimulation. Just like the body reacts when it leaves unhealthy habits, the heart reacts when it is finally given space to breathe. Stepping back teaches you who truly matters and what truly matters. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you start hearing yourself again. When you stop performing for people, you begin to live for Allah. Many people are spiritually drained not because they are doing too little, but because they are constantly available to everyone except Allah. Disappearing for a while is not abandonment, it is realignment. During these 30 days, your relationship with Allah begins to change. Salah becomes quieter but deeper. Du'as become more honest because there is no audience. You stop rushing through worship and start sitting with it. You begin to notice how often you used to talk without purpose, react without patience, and scroll without awareness. Distance from noise sharpens awareness. You also begin to see how much emotional energy was being wasted. Arguments you no longer engage in lose their power. Opinions that once controlled your mood start to feel insignificant. When you stop feeding distractions, they stop demanding you. The heart regains strength when it is no longer pulled in every direction. Disappearing also humbles the ego. You realize the world does not collapse without your presence. Life continues, people move on. And that realization is freeing. It teaches you that your worth was never in how visible you were, but in how sincere you are with Allah. The need to be seen slowly fades, replaced by the need to be accepted by Allah alone. In this quiet space, healing happens. Wounds you kept ignoring finally surface, not to hurt you, but to be healed. You start understanding yourself better. You recognize patterns, weaknesses, and habits that were hidden behind busyness. This self-awareness is a gift, because change begins with honesty. After 30 days, you don't return the same. You speak less, but with more meaning. You react slower, but with wisdom. You care less about opinions and more about intention. Your heart feels lighter because it is no longer crowded. You don't disappear to escape life. You disappear to return stronger, clearer, and closer to Allah. Sometimes Allah saves you not by adding people to your life, but by removing noise from it. If you feel spiritually tired, emotionally overwhelmed, or disconnected, maybe the solution is not more effort, but more stillness. Disappear for 30 days with Allah, and watch what happens to your heart, your clarity, and your peace. Stepping away from noise heals the soul. Disappearing for 30 days from distractions, validation, and constant engagement allows the heart to detox and regain peace. Disappearing for 30 days does not mean running away from life, people, or responsibilities. It means intentionally stepping back from the noise that slowly drains the soul. In a world where attention is constantly demanded and validation is easily chased, the heart becomes tired without realizing why. You stay busy, connected, and visible, yet something inside feels unsettled. This exhaustion is not always physical. Often it is spiritual. The soul becomes overwhelmed when it is constantly pulled outward and rarely given the chance to turn inward toward Allah. When a person chooses to disappear for a short period for the sake of Allah, the first thing they experience is discomfort. Silence feels heavy. Reduced interaction feels lonely. The absence of constant updates, opinions, and reactions creates an uneasy emptiness. But this discomfort is not harmful. It is a sign that the heart is withdrawing from dependency on noise and attention. Just like the body reacts when unhealthy habits are removed, the heart reacts when it is finally given space to rest. As the days pass, something begins to shift. The mind becomes quieter. Thoughts slow down. You start noticing how much of your energy was being spent on unnecessary conversations, arguments, and comparisons. When you are no longer reacting to everything, you begin to respond with intention. This space creates awareness. You start recognizing which interactions brought peace and which ones quietly drained you. This clarity is one of the first gifts of stepping back. During this time, the relationship with Allah deepens naturally. Worship becomes less rushed because there is no pressure to perform or impress. Salah becomes a private meeting instead of a routine. Du'as become more honest because they are not shaped by how they sound, but by how they feel. In solitude, the heart speaks more truthfully to Allah. Without an audience, sincerity grows. The soul finally remembers who it was created for. Stepping away also weakens the ego. Visibility often feeds the desire to be seen, heard, and validated. When you disappear and nothing collapses, the ego softens. You realize your worth was never tied to constant presence or approval. This realization is humbling, but freeing. It shifts your focus from people's opinions to Allah's acceptance. And when that shift happens, peace follows. Another powerful change is emotional control. Distance reduces emotional reactions. Situations that once triggered anger, sadness, or defensiveness begin to lose their grip. When you stop feeding distractions, they stop demanding attention. You learn to pause instead of react. That pause gives wisdom time to enter the heart. With fewer external influences, the heart becomes stronger and more stable. In the quiet of disappearance, healing takes place. Suppressed emotions surface gently. Pain that was hidden behind busyness finally gets acknowledged. This is not meant to overwhelm, but to heal. Allah allows the heart to feel so it can be purified. Self-awareness grows. You begin to understand your patterns, weaknesses, and attachments. Awareness is the first step toward change. And change becomes possible when the heart is honest with itself. As days pass, simplicity becomes comforting. Fewer words feel lighter. Less engagement feels peaceful. You begin to appreciate small moments, quiet prayers, and stillness. The soul no longer feels pulled in every direction. Instead, it feels grounded. This grounding is what many people search for without realizing it. When the 30 days end, you return different. Not louder, but calmer. Not distant, but centered. You speak with purpose and listen with patience. You care less about being seen and more about being sincere. Disappearing was never about escaping life, it was about resetting the heart. By stepping back, you gain clarity, strength, and a renewed connection with Allah. Sometimes the greatest growth happens in silence. When you choose to disappear with Allah for a while, you return with peace the world could never give. Silence deepens your connection with Allah. Less visibility and fewer words lead to more sincere salah. honest ihsas, and a stronger inner relationship with Allah. Disappearing for 30 days is not about isolating yourself from the world out of anger, pain, or disappointment. It is about choosing intention over impulse and depth over noise. Many people today are constantly present everywhere yet absent from themselves. They talk, post, react, explain, and respond endlessly, but their hearts feel scattered. The soul was never designed to live in constant exposure. It needs moments of withdrawal to regain balance and remember its purpose. When someone steps back intentionally for a short period, they begin to notice how much of their energy was being drained without benefit. Conversations that led nowhere, arguments that changed nothing, opinions that never truly mattered. During disappearance, you stop pouring into places that never poured back into you. This is not selfishness. It is self-preservation guided by wisdom. Allah created the heart with limits, and when those limits are crossed repeatedly, exhaustion follows. At first, the silence feels uncomfortable because the heart is used to constant stimulation. The mind keeps searching for distraction. The hands reach for the phone. The tongue wants to speak. But slowly, as the days pass, that restlessness fades. The heart begins to settle. You realize how much peace was being blocked by constant engagement. Silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling safe. In this quiet, your inner voice becomes clearer. You begin to hear thoughts you once ignored. Some are painful, some are honest, and some are enlightening. Allah allows this clarity so the heart can recognize what needs healing. Disappearing removes the layers that hide truth. You start understanding why certain patterns repeat in your life and why certain situations keep draining you. This understanding is not meant to shame you, but to free you. Your relationship with Allah changes in a profound way. Worship becomes deeply personal. There is no rush, no comparison, no performance. You stand in salah knowing it is just you and Allah. You speak to Him without filtering your words. Your du'as become real conversations rather than rehearsed phrases. In solitude, sincerity grows naturally because there is no one else to impress. As you disconnect from people, you reconnect with purpose. You remember that your value was never measured by how visible you are, but by how sincere your heart is. The need for validation weakens. Compliments lose their control over you, and criticism no longer defines you. This emotional independence brings a sense of dignity and calm that cannot be achieved while constantly seeking approval. Disappearing also teaches patience. When you are not constantly reacting, you learn to pause. You stop responding emotionally and start responding thoughtfully. This pause changes everything. Anger loses its urgency. Sadness becomes manageable. You learn that not every thought needs to be spoken and not every situation needs your involvement. This restraint strengthens the soul. Healing happens quietly during this time. Emotional wounds that were buried under busyness surface gently. You finally allow yourself to feel without distraction. Allah heals hearts in silence more than in noise. When the heart is still, divine comfort reaches it faster. You begin to forgive more easily, including forgiving yourself. The weight you did not realize you were carrying starts to lift. Another powerful change is gratitude. When life becomes simpler, blessings become clearer. You appreciate calm mornings, peaceful prayers, and moments of reflection. Contentment replaces restlessness. You realize how little you truly need to feel fulfilled. This contentment protects the heart long after the disappearance ends. When you return after 30 days, you are not disconnected from people, but reconnected to yourself. You engage with intention, not compulsion. You speak less, but with more meaning. You protect your energy because you now understand its value. You return stronger, not because you escape the world, but because you face yourself honestly. Disappearing for a while teaches you that peace is not found in constant presence, but in purposeful absence. When you step away for Allah, Allah gives you clarity, strength, and a heart that feels alive again. Distance brings clarity and inner strength. By stepping back, you gain self-awareness, emotional control, and freedom from opinions, returning calmer and spiritually stronger. Disappearing for 30 days is a conscious decision to reclaim your soul from a world that constantly demands your attention. It is not an act of rebellion, isolation, or neglect, but an act of wisdom. Many people feel emotionally drained, spiritually dry, and mentally overwhelmed without knowing why. They blame circumstances, people, or destiny, yet the real issue is that their hearts have been overexposed. Too many voices, too many opinions, too much comparison, and too little time with Allah slowly weaken the soul. When you intentionally step back, you begin to see how much of your time was being spent reacting instead of reflecting. Every notification demanded a response. Every opinion required validation or defense. Every moment of silence felt uncomfortable. Disappearing interrupts this cycle. At first, the heart resists. It feels uneasy without constant stimulation. But this resistance is proof of how dependent the soul had become on noise. With patience, that dependence starts to fade. As days pass, the mind becomes calmer. You are no longer carrying the emotional weight of everyone else's expectations. You stop explaining yourself. You stop proving your worth. You stop competing silently. This creates a sense of relief you didn't realize you needed. The heart finally has space to breathe. In that space, clarity begins to form. This clarity allows you to see yourself honestly. You start recognizing habits that harm your peace, relationships that drain your energy, and patterns that keep repeating because they were never addressed. Disappearing removes distractions that once hid these truths. Allah allows this awareness not to burden you, but to guide you. Awareness is mercy because it gives you the chance to change. Your relationship with Allah deepens in this quiet. Worship becomes more sincere because it is no longer rushed or influenced by others. You pray because you need Allah, not because it is visible. You make dua because your heart is open, not because words sound beautiful. In solitude, faith becomes real. The soul remembers its purpose. Allah becomes the center again, not an afterthought. Stepping back also heals emotional wounds. Many pains remain unresolved because people stay busy to avoid feeling them. Disappearing removes that escape. Emotions surface gently, asking to be acknowledged. This process may feel uncomfortable, but it is healing. Allah heals hearts when they are honest. Tears shed in private often cleanse more than words spoken in public. As you remain distant from constant engagement, you learn restraint. You realize not every situation needs your reaction. Silence becomes strength. You gain control over your tongue, your emotions, and your responses. This self-control brings dignity. You begin responding with wisdom instead of impulse. Peace replaces regret. Disappearing humbles the ego. You realize the world continues without your constant presence. This realization is freeing. It reminds you that your worth was never tied to attention or validation. You begin seeking Allah's approval instead of people's praise. That shift brings deep contentment. Gratitude also grows during this time. Without excess, blessings become visible. You appreciate simple moments, quiet prayers, and stillness. Life feels lighter. You realize peace does not come from having more, but from needing less. When the 30 days end, you return transformed. Not distant, but grounded. not silent, but intentional. You speak with purpose, listen with patience, and protect your heart wisely. Disappearing did not make you weaker, it made you clearer. Sometimes Allah calls you into silence so He can heal you, teach you, and prepare you. When you disappear for His sake, you return with a heart stronger than before, carrying peace that the world cannot take away.